at the International Film Festival of India, which was held in Goa, and he has tweeted a series of tweets in which he has stated the reasons.
I believe my colleague Pallavi Ghosh is also with us right now, and we're going to go over to her on the phone. Pallavi, while the Israeli director was making this speech from the stage, I believe I&B Minister Anurag Thakur and actors like Akshay Kumar were also present. Could you tell us more?
That's right. They were very much sitting in the front row, and this was a grand IFFI festival. But more importantly, it was also a special edition of what we wanted a cinema.
Prime Minister Modi said that the film had rattled the entire ecosystem that claims to be the torchbearer of freedom of expression, but does not want the truth to be told. So was Nadav Lapid voicing dissent or denying the truth about Kashmiri pundits?
All right, let me open this up to our guests who are joining us this evening on Viewpoint. Prakash Belawadi is an actor. Farooq Wani, editor of Writer Kashmir. Shehzad Khan is an actor. Arti Tuku is founder and editor-in-chief of the New Indian, and Gautam Chintamani, film historian. Prakash Belawadi, let me start with you first. You know, obviously, filmmakers, critics, they can have differences of opinion about a film. He could have called this film a badly made film, poor plot, bad acting, call it whatever you want. But to say vulgar propaganda, that means you're questioning the very integrity of the film, the filmmakers, and the filmmaking process itself. Prakash, you have to unmute yourself, please. Thanks. Prakash, you have to unmute your computer, please. Unmute your phone, yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
You know, I'm in Sydney, and I didn't
Sure.
know any detail about this. I just I saw a headline saying that both the words vulgar and propaganda, because somebody sent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for the background, that it gives me a clearer picture now. I see that, you know, more people have reacted against it also. See, I want to say some 3 or 4 really simple things that occurred to me. One is that he's a jury member, he's the head of jury, and you know, if he has strong feelings for or against a film, it's part of being a juror. You know, he can make a decision. What is unusual is that, you know, we get citations for films that a juror likes, not citations for stuff you didn't like. You know, we don't pick films we don't like, we pick films we like, I think.
Yeah.
I think there are several errors in the way this is done by him. First is to call it vulgar is one thing, but to call it propaganda is political grandstanding in a way. And, you know, he sees it's a controversial subject. This is what I suspect. And, you know, he thinks he can get a great deal of attention. He's a renowned filmmaker. That may not make him a very wise person. You know, this is something we see happen very often. To call it propaganda is the problem for me, because when you call it propaganda, propagating what it is, but you know, is the question. Every filmmaker, including him, you know, his films are quite edgy. He is pushing a point of view, and it's the right of the artist to do that. To call it propaganda is a little bit silly, I think. But what I find abhorrent is that he says in that short report somebody sent to me that he and his fellow jurors were shocked that this film was included. It means it's a kind of censorship, right?
Yeah.
When one of these guys picks something, it is good. If somebody else picks it, then it is not so good. You have the right to decide it, but you can do it with a great deal of dignity.
Correct.
And for him to claim that it was an artistic expression, what he did on stage, I cannot agree with. But I think, on the whole, we should stop reacting to it so strongly. This happens, you know, when the film was released also, some people called it propaganda.
Yeah.
Some of us disagreed with it. Many people liked the film. It made a lot of money. And, you know, when you go out into the public, some people like it, some people don't like it. And you can just take it on the chin sometimes and not really react so much. But this much I will say for the Congress. I don't think in all the juries that, you know, that have been picked for IFFI during during the Congress regimes in India, they would never be so foolish as to pick somebody from the Sangh Parivar as the head juror. That's what
Okay,
occurred to me.
I'll come to that
That's
part in a second. But let me ask Aarti Tikku, because the response from the Israeli ambassador, the consul general in Mumbai, going personally and meeting Anupam Kher, apologizing when there was really no need to, because it's not like the state of Israel has to hold a fort for what one individual citizen is saying. Neither does Nadav Lapid in any way represent the state of Israel. So, Aarti Tikku, I'm curious to know, what was the thinking behind the ambassador, the consul general, the former ambassador coming out and profusely apologizing for the comments of one individual?
Well, Israel and India share a strategic partnership, and our relationship is pretty strong, and therefore Israel would not really like to see the government of India getting upset, because after all, this was a government of India sponsored event where Israeli spoke not only against the my genocide, which I have lived, which I have survived, but he also in a way defamed and undermined the very platform which was sponsored by the government of India. Honestly, my view is that India, or for that matter displaced Kashmiri Pandits who have lived, survived genocide in Kashmir, do not need validation from foreigners. We don't need either praise or condemnation from anybody. We have lived it, we have survived it, and I don't need anybody to tell me whether it was true or untrue, because I am a witness to that history.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, even the filmmaker, even though I endorsed the Kashmir Files and I have stood by the movie, I have stood by the veracity of all the events that have been shown in the movie, but I have to say, even the filmmaker seems to be desperate for this validation from the Americans, from the Brits, and from other people across the world. Vivek Agnihotri has been going around the world asking for validation. I don't think we need validation. My story does not need validation. I am the living proof of what we have suffered. I am the living proof of all the incidents of jihad that were, perpetrated by Pakistan, by Islamists in Kashmir against Kashmiri Hindus.
Farooq
So,
Wani,
unfortunately,
the problem
this whole
is,
debate discourse,
what happened 30 years ago, everyone knows. Unfortunately, there's been a certain airbrushing of that history, that deep, dark chapter that Kashmiri Pandit families like that of Aarti Tikku's had to undergo. Today, you have a movie, and like I said, you're free to criticize that movie. You can say maybe the movie exaggerates the truth, but then that's artistic license, as Prakash Belawadi said. The point is that truth, which was buried or airbrushed for the last 30 years, is finally coming forth. And some people are uncomfortable about that truth. Some people are not willing to accept that truth. And we saw this even when the movie released earlier this year. No one expected a movie about what happened in Kashmir 30 years ago, depicting the reality of what happened 30 years ago, would go on to become the biggest, commercially successful movie of 2022 in the Hindi film industry.
Yes, Jaka, just my take is this. This statement came yesterday, and so I was tracking it since last yesterday. What is there is no such a hue and cry in the Kashmir regarding this Kashmir files. But one thing is clear: this is the statement of this person, this Lipid Nadav, and his personal statement. And government of Israel has nothing to do with this statement. Even they don't want. So even I have just read this. Envoy statement, the ties between Israel and government of India will not die down anywhere because of this statement. But one thing is clear: this Kashmir file has made, because as you said, as this Aarti has said, this is a genocide. But my take is this: these Pandits have suffered a lot, because no doubt they are our brothers. We are living together. We have a history, we have a culture, we have everything is here. Even today, there are a lot of people in those who are living in the Kashmir. So those who are anybody who's died in a young age or elderly, तो वहाँ पे कौन कश्मीरी आ रहा है and say they are doing the lost rights of these fellow.
नहीं,
so I mean,
फारूक साहब ये बताइए कि ये जो हिस्ट्री है उनके साथ, कश्मीरी पंडितों के साथ, anywhere between 3 lakh to 5 lakh people who had to flee, forcibly flee from their homeland, from their motherland. इनका जो हिस्ट्री है, इनका जो चरित्र है, इसको एयर ब्रश करने की क्यों जरूरत पड़ी? And this was across 20, 30 years.
Perhaps there will be something in his mind. This Nadav, there
no,
could
so
be something in his mind.
Would a Mr. Lapid deny Holocaust? Deny that over 10 million Jews died at the hands of Hitler and the gas chambers? Will he deny that?
This is history. Always tells what is happening in the past, and this will continue to happen. Now, so I mean, in Kashmir, not only the Pandits make exodus, and there are a lot of Muslims who also made the exodus. So I have gone other places because of their life threats.
The point, no, I think you're missing the point again. I think you're missing the point. The point being that a community was selectively targeted because they happen to be of a different faith. Because some people felt that Kashmir belongs only to people of a certain faith and the others got chased out. But anyway, I don't want to go into lessons of history. I want to stick to what Mr. Lapid said, and I want to ask Gautam Chintamani. You know, two things I'm very curious about. One, I think to take Prakash's point forward, he said it in a lighter vein, but I think it's a fact. I mean, somebody needs to ask the question, who invited this gentleman whose views are very well known? He has, in fact, in the past said that the Israeli state is full of propaganda. It's an occupying force in the West Bank. He refused to support a film fund, which some filmmakers there had started, saying that this is the fund of the occupiers. So his positions on issues are very well known. So questions need to be asked as to who in the organizing committee invited him to be the chair of the international jury. And secondly, there are 15 to 20 films that are made available to the jury members. Obviously, they see all of these films once or twice, and then 2 or 3 or 4, at best 5 films are given the prestigious awards. What was the need to talk about a film that was not in the awarded category? This was part of the 15 or 20 films that were screened, and it was up to the jury to decide which of those films they felt best deserved the award.
I think, Zaka, we just have two dots in front of us which need to be joined by a single straight line. The filmmaker in the past has made his stand very clear. I can't get into, I'm no person to comment why was he invited or who invited him or whether questions should be raised. The point is that this filmmaker, from the statements that he makes, has a habit of saying things which, which evoke extreme reactions, and maybe that is what certain filmmakers thrive in. I mean, they want controversy, they want to be talked about. Film is such a powerful tool. I mean, hearing Aarti here and having seen the film, you're absolutely right. You can comment on the artistic approach of the film, you can comment on certain elements of the film, but to comment on the film in such a light just makes it very, very clear and abundantly clear to me that this is a very politically driven statement made by the filmmaker. I'll give you an example. Before Schindler's List, and there has been a lot of comparison between the Kashmir Files and Schindler's List for many reasons. One of them being that these were stories or these were tragedies of people which happened in front of the world's eyes, and they were overlooked or forgotten or airbrushed, like we've been saying. During the shooting of Schindler's List, when they were putting up swastikas in spaces where once upon a time swastika, the Nazi, the Third Reich swastika was raised, filmmakers had to apologize to people and tell them that we are trying to show a bit of history to educate people. Please forgive us for putting you through this trauma all over again. In fact, Josephine, the lead actor in the film, was so convincing that an elderly Polish woman actually spat on him during the shooting. So when you know this kind of history and when you know what people have suffered, to completely negate something, and this is the film. I mean, I think Prakashji also mentioned that you talk about the good things at a festival when you're the jury head. You don't talk about the 17,000 films that you did not select. So that all these things are very simply pointing in a direction that this is a politically motivated statement to evoke a certain kind of reaction and also to question. I mean, India and Israel have had a fantastic relationship in the last 8 years. It's been growing with each passing day. The fact that high-ranking Israeli officials made a call to the actor Anupam Kher in the film. These just show you that somebody is out there to derail things and to put and to cast a shadow of doubt on an important aspect of history, which, according to me, has not been talked about as much as it should have been, not back then, and even now we need to speak about it a little more.
Shehzad Khan, if I were to draw a comparison, what Gautam Chintamani was also saying, when Schindler's List came out, there were a lot of people who agreed with that film. There were a lot of people for whom it was a cathartic moment. There are a lot of people who did not agree with that film. Will this Israeli filmmaker say the same about a Schindler's List or A Beautiful Mind or a Sophie's Choice as he would say for Kashmir Files, which he called, quote unquote, vulgar propaganda? Because if he's not going to deny the Holocaust, then he should be in no position to give sermons about what happened to Kashmiri Hindus.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. For the last half an hour, I've been listening to our respected panelists. See, he is an Israeli director, and he has said about the film Kashmir Files, he has embarrassed the film Kashmir Files. And he's also said that this is a very prestigious thing, such films should not, and we all know what all he has said. So there is something to it. No? He being an Israeli, if he's saying this, it means a lot. I had said this long ago, that films should be made for entertainment, and not to target a certain community. When you're targeting a certain community, this is what's going to happen. And whatever he has said, you look at a thing whether it's half glass empty or half glass full. But this film, the way it was marketed, the way things were done for this film, was looking that a certain community was targeted just for three people. The three people should have been hanged who did this brutal act. Why
Shehzad Khan, I want to interrupt you there and ask you a question.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest movies the world has seen were not just made for entertainment. I don't think Gandhi was made for entertainment. I don't think Guns of Nevron was made just for entertainment. Like I said, from Schindler's List to The Pianist to The Beautiful Mind, of course, all cinema at some form will try to entertain people. But, there are certain movies that the great movies go beyond entertainment. My question to you is, why shouldn't a filmmaker look back at a portion of history which has not been adequately told or which has been airbrushed, as I said before, and give his spin to it? Like I said, you can disagree with that spin. You can say he exaggerated the truth. You can say that, it is artistic license. But to say it's vulgar propaganda means you're denying the truth, means you're denying or downplaying what happened in history.
He said what he felt. He said what he felt. Mr. Nadav Lapid has got all the right to say, and anybody's got all the right to say what he feels about that film.
No. So then it's akin to saying, Shehzad Khan, then it is akin to saying that Schindler's List is a bad movie because the Holocaust never happened. It was vulgar propaganda. Will he ever say that about Steven Spielberg's movie? No, he will not, right?
I don't know. I'm not Mr. Lapid's spokesperson that who can say
no,
what
I'm
he
asking
feels
you.
and what
I'm asking you, right? Okay.
Say.
I'm asking Shehzad Khan. Will Shehzad Khan ever say Steven Spielberg was a propagandist because he made a film that showed Jews as victims?
Some directors make films for propaganda. Most of them make such films so that they can make a lot of money. But it is very rarely seen that such films get support from the government, endorsement from governments. I would like to know that Schindler's List, did it get any endorsement from its government wherever it was made?
No. One second. The fact that I'll bring in Prakash Balwani. The fact that Kashmir Files got entertainment tax free in some states, not the first movie in the country to get that. And I can assure you, not the last movie to get that. Numerous movies in the past have got entertainment tax free. Okay, that's really not the issue here. Prakash Belawadi, again, I come back to a very, very simple point about, it is up to individual filmmakers to make sometimes movies. I watched a beautiful movie over the weekend called Kantara, right? I don't understand Kannada. I mean, I get a fair bit of it. You can call parts of that movie exaggerated. There are parts of that movie that talk about superstition and tradition and customs. You can disagree with that. But I will never say it's a bad movie. It's a fantastic movie. Because it's a rooted movie. It talks about what is happening in a part of our country. And whenever something is rooted, there is truth to it. You can't have truth without roots, and you can't have roots without the truth.
See, I will say what I said when the movie was released and all this talk of propaganda came. I think, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi actually praising the film was what started it, this propaganda thing. People started calling it. He didn't fund the film. Some private people funded the film. Nobody believed it. It didn't get a very big release. It's people who like the film who actually made the film a success. And I feel like politicians understand what is successful and they back it when they think, they need to endorse it. If it's profitable to them, why would they endorse it? Narendra Modi ji did not endorse his film that was made as a biopic about him. That film flopped. He did not give it an endorsement.
Yeah.
So basically, he understood the film was successful. That's why he endorsed it. And, what I said at that time, at the time of release, was that it was a little bit of a disservice to the film that, that he said that, because the film was going to succeed anyway. It did not succeed because of him. My point is this, at the end of the day, that film was made. Whether it was made well or not is for everybody to decide. I'm not going to plead for the film that it's a good or bad film. I like the film. And I feel bad that people have chosen to be on the wrong side of history. Wherever there are victims of brutality, of pogroms, or of communal violence, you should actually, I've watched Holocaust films and I wept. You should be able to stand on the right side of history. If you cannot do it, you will not get reconciliation in your heart.
Okay.
You'll always be disturbed by this.
I'll give
that is all I will say.
Tiku the
we
final
should
word.
Move past this, man.
We
should care.
I think
care about it.
To take forward Prakash's point, there have been other films also that's been made on Kashmiri Pandit genocide, right? Many of them were not successful. The reason why people are picking on Kashmir Files is because it was successful when nobody was expecting it to. I mean, no one thought at a time when Bollywood itself was going through a crisis of sorts after the COVID pandemic and so on. No one thought that this movie, small budget movie, coming out of nowhere, talking about something that happened 30 years ago, would rake in 300 crores. So A, it's become a victim of its own success. And B, perhaps people don't like the filmmaker and the film stars, at least the more popular ones in this film, because they are open advocates of the current establishment.
That might be true, but you cannot dismiss and deny the story in the Kashmir Files. It's based on true events. It's based on true facts. The moment you get into this, that, Vivek Agnihotri is aligned with the BJP or Anupam Kher's wife is in the BJP, the moment you politicize that, you actually are getting into the denial zone. And that's my problem with some of the panelists today, who were talking about, giving all kinds of justifications. But honestly, my issue really is this, that Vivek Agnihotri has made a fantastic movie, but more than that, it is truth, it's my truth. And anybody who is going to give all kinds of explanations, all kinds of justifications to deny it, I'm sorry to say, you are propagandists yourself. And anybody who is giving a lot of leverage to this gentleman, Israeli gentleman at IFFI today, honestly, you are also part of this agent provocateur who's come from nowhere and is trying to build a fabricated narrative against me, my genocide and my story.
Okay, I'll give Gautam Chintamani the final word. Will this always lead to filmmakers asking themselves the question, how far can I go with the truth? Will people call my truth stretched? All truth is subjective. Aarti was talking about her truth does not need validation. Of course it does not need validation. But is this going to put a spoke on every filmmaker to ask himself or herself that, will my truth be called extreme or will my truth be called stretched?
Well, Zaka, there will always be an opposing point of view. But I am of the firm opinion that one should not take the wrong argument for the sake of being a contrarian just because the right argument has already been taken. Every film which addresses an open wound will be questioned by some people, but that is not the point of the film. The film, and in this case, a film like Schindler's List or a film like Kashmir Files, tells the audience something which was not known to them, and that is a tragedy. And if a film corrects it, it can be a documentary, it can be fiction, but Aarti is here, and there are many like her who are testimony to the horrors that took place. So we cannot deny that. As far as filmmaking goes, this is, it's a very subjective field. People will come, people will have their own views. Here, Shehzad has a completely different opinion, but that's for him to decide.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to change the way filmmakers approach films based on real events.
I'll leave it at that. I'll echo what Gautam said. I think the reason why Kashmir Files was so successful was because it took people by surprise. It certainly took this current generation by surprise, who were maybe unaware of or who were not taught in their history textbooks about what exactly happened in Kashmir to the pundits in the late 80s and 90s. It was an eye-opener, and that's why it worked. And sometimes it takes an entire generation for the truth to come out and for the entire country and the rest of the world to see that truth. And that's perhaps the greatest victory that the makers of this film have. Their truth has been told, has been acknowledged, and as Aarti said, it doesn't need an Israeli or an American or a British man to validate that truth. That's a wrap. Thanks very much for tuning in.
Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. The battle for Gujarat is only heating up. With today being the last day of campaigning, you had Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, who created a massive controversy in Rao by comparing the Prime Minister to Ravan. The point that was being made by the new Congress President was that from MCD elections to general elections, the BJP is only using the Modi factor, questioning the role of others within the party. The BJP then, on expected lines, hit back at the Congress for disrespecting the Prime Minister and using such language for their vote bank. Remember, Gujarat is going to see elections in two phases, the first on the 1st of December and then on the 5th of December, and results finally on the 8th of December. Gujarat has traditionally been a two-sided fight between the Congress and the BJP. This time around, you will of course have the Aam Aadmi Party also entering the fray, hoping to make a dent. But from barbs and jibes like the Chai Wala to Ravan, the larger question is, do these jibes actually have a resonance on the ground? Not the first time when these comments have been made, but more importantly, in cases more than one. Comments like these have actually backfired. Let me give you a backstory. Let's begin with what happened in December 2007. Sonia Gandhi called Modi Maut Ka Saudagar. The result at that time was the BJP won 107 seats in Gujarat Assembly polls. Then let's go back to Jan 2014, when you have Manishankar Iyer, who attacked Modi once again ahead of the Lok Sabha polls, saying that we'll find a job of a chai wala for Modi. At that time, the result was BJP alone won 282 seats in the 2014 Lok Sabha polls. Let me give you some other examples. In October 2016, you had Rahul Gandhi, who said the Prime Minister indulged in Khoon ki dalali. The result was the BJP won 324 seats in 2017 UP Assembly polls. Then, in December 2017, you once again had Manishankar Iyer calling Prime Minister Modi Neech. And the result was the BJP won Gujarat Assembly polls with 49.1 percentage votes. Let me give you some other examples. Just between the timeline of 2018 to 19, there were multiple other instances as well. You had Rahul Gandhi calling the Prime Minister commander-in-thief. Manishankar Iyer once again calling the Prime Minister Neech. You even had Mayawati jumping in, who said that Modi abandoned his wife. And the Congress launched the Chaukidar Chor Hai campaign. The result of all of this was the BJP won 303 seats in 2019 Lok Sabha polls. But this is where the criticism is coming in from the Congress party. That can the BJP really take the moral high ground, considering the fact name-calling seems to have become a pattern? Let me give you some examples where the BJP decided to go forward and take some jibes. You had MLA Nitesh Rane in November of 2022 who tweeted that this Pappu will never pass. You had seen very extreme reactions from the Congress at that point of time. In October 2022, you had Gaurav Bhatia also making comparisons as far as Rahul Gandhi with Ravan is concerned. Then in September 2022, you had the BJP calling Arvind Kejriwal megalomaniac. In October 2015, you had MJ Akbar calling Rahul Gandhi inept spoiled child. In 2013, in October, you had Amit Shah who referred with various names to Rahul Gandhi as Pappu as well. So the larger question that we're asking today is, with this name calling and jibes, is this a strategy or a mistake? At this point, let me bring in our guest to take this conversation forward to try and understand whether all of these name-calling jibes will have a resonance with the voters on the ground. I have the spokesperson of the BJP, Toheen Sinha, who is joining us. From the Congress, we have Mahima Singh. We also have political analyst Dr. Piyush Jha. We're hoping to be joined by Yuvraj Pokarna, senior journalist as well. Toheen, I'd like to begin the conversation with you. How did you see these comments that were made by the Congress president?
Well, good evening to you and to all the viewers. Essentially, from 2007, when Sonia Gandhi used the term Maut Ka Saudagar, to 2022, when Mallikarjun Kharge ji uses the term Ravan, nothing seems to have changed for the Congress party. It shows their moral and intellectual bankruptcy, but more importantly, it shows a tendency to constantly run down the person whom the state has been voting for in such big numbers for the last 25 years. So, somewhere the Congress needs to think positive, because if earlier Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi would be making these statements, then they outsourced it to people like Manishankar Iyer, and now Mallikarjun Kharge is at the hem of it. But the thing is, they have nothing to offer to Gujarat, no positive agenda. Rahul Gandhi, in fact, has escaped Gujarat. He's nowhere to be seen, barring those 2 days when he was there. So obviously, I think instead of accepting their bankruptcy of ideas, if they vent out their frustration on the Prime Minister, they have, I wish them good luck. But it only shows the constant decline of the Congress party and the constant suicide mode in which they have been in since 2007.
Mahima, before I get talking about the work that is being promised by various political parties and the kind of manifestos that we've already seen, the point that is being made by the BJP is this. So what if we're using the Modi factor? Because the BJP doesn't distinguish between a MCD election, between a general election. The intent to work for the party, the intent to work for the country is the same for us. And we are led by example by the Prime Minister. What's the harm in that?
Thank you for having me on your panel this evening, Riddhima. I'll come to your question, but before that, just now I heard the BJP spokesperson say that there's been a decline in the Congress party. Let me ask those who have caused the decline of the democracy, that where was Gandhi born? Gandhiji was born on the soil of Gujarat, and we've been seeing the backlash from the BJP. And what you are saying right now is right, Riddhima, that they are projecting the face of one man, that's Modi ji, for every election. They don't distinguish between all these elections. That's fair. But we are not a developed nation, rather a developing nation. We are getting there. We are not in America, where there's a presidential election where people go and vote for one face. And if that is happening, then that is exactly what our president has pointed towards, by saying that when there is a fallout in your constituency, in a municipality, You are not going to go and question Modi ji. You will have to catch hold of your candidate. And so the question is the BJP not confident enough of the candidates that they are projecting? Because for every single election that they are projecting, only Modi ji's face. And when we point out to that, and when we respond in their own language, to the BJP, they cry foul. They cry foul that we have
But
wronged the
Mahima,
son of...
what essentially I'm trying to understand is that, even if you want to critique the way in which the BJP is working, is this the only way that is available to the Congress party? And when you go forward and say that we're responding to them in their own language, do two wrongs really make a right? What is the point that is being proven by the Congress party? I thought when elections are happening, work is what is all that will matter to the voters. Why are you indulging yourself in name calling? And more importantly, the man who's being referred by the Congress president is not just head of one political party, but at the end of the day, he's the Prime Minister of the country. And we all have a certain responsibility and respect to that man simply because of the position.
You're right, Ridhima, in saying that two wrongs will not make any right, and our responsibilities towards the democracy. And I started by saying decline of the democracy is what the BJP has caused. And I pointed towards Gandhiji earlier, because what I was really going to say is that they're crying foul that we have wronged the son of the soil by, or we are reflecting our hate towards the son of the soil or a Gujarati. Well, it is the BJP and RSS who caused the death of the father of this nation, Mahatma Gandhiji, and that's where I was going. And they're calling the son of the soil, the Prime Minister of this country, who ruled that state for about 13 years. And the BJP has ruled that state chronologically for 27 years, yet 39% of, the total number of children below the age of 5, just for instance, I'm quoting this one example, their growth is stunted. That's what the BJP has done to Gujarat. And what Congress did to this country and to the people of Gujarat is we gave laws like Narega, the laws like Food Security Bill, laws like right to education, which has helped this country in a crisis like COVID. Those who mocked at Narega have actually relied upon the same law during COVID to provide for the country.
Fair enough. Fair enough, Mahima. That's what I'm saying. You critique them on policy, you critique them on the lack of work that is not being done, you critique them on promises that were made on the manifesto and the ground reality. That is your job. But only point that we're essentially trying to understand is, where does the name calling take any political party? And the reason I started with that analysis of when this name calling has been done by the Congress party, the results have actually gone in favor of the BJP. But Tuhin, before I go to my other guests also, the point that is also being made by the Congress here is, can the BJP really have a higher moral ground? Name calling seems to have become a pattern that is acceptable by every political party. So when you do it, it's fine. When we do it, it becomes an issue. Why?
Well, essentially from what I heard from the Congress spokesperson, they seem very happy at having lost the habit of winning. And, they seem to be justifying everything, whether it was the falsehood of RSS role in Gandhi's murder, because eventually RSS was completely exonerated, and Nehru, in fact, felicitated RSS in 1963 on the Republic Day because of the help they provided during the 62 war. So I think, they should grow out of this falsehood. As when it comes to the work that we have done in Gujarat, we have transformed lives in ways which Congress can never imagine. Go to the Kevadia region, you will see how a tribal region today has a flourishing economy of its own because of its development into a tourist zone. Go to a village like Modera, you see other villages are on the cusp of a solar revolution. So these are things which the Congress cannot even think of doing in the near future. Yes, we have resorted to name calling. Okay. Certain spokespersons or certain leaders may or may not have been right, but the point
Tuhin and Mahima, I'll just request you both to just stay on with us. I'll request our other guests also to stay on with us, because at this point we also have BJP MP and senior BJP leader Ravi Shankar Prasad also now joining us on the broadcast. So thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on CNN News 18. I first want to begin by understanding, how did you see the comments that were made by the Congress president?
It is shocking. It defies logic. It is beyond the realm of democratic standards of propriety. That's all. Can you just believe? You can criticize. That's what democracy is about.
Sure.
But the Congress president kind of showering abuses in the most virulent terms. I don't want to repeat it. And by the way, it is not new. Maut ka Saudagar was launched by Sonia ji earlier. You know it very well. झूठ की खेती करते हैं. Rahul Gandhi in 2019, Chaukidar, thereafter I don't want to repeat it. We have got a catalogue of the kind of abuses Narendra Modi has been suffering at the hands of Congress leaders. It is a pattern, deliberate pattern, to denigrate Modi ji, come what may. And they are not realizing that whenever they do, they suffer serious electoral reverse. Yet they do. I can only infer this, that it has approval from the top, number one, and there is a lurking kind of a reluctance to recognize Narendra Modi as the leader or the Prime Minister.
So the Congress is saying that the larger point that was being... Sure. So the Congress is saying that the larger point that they were making is, if you continue to bank on the Modi factor, or if you continue to use the Prime Minister's face, the larger question that is being raised is, what about the others as far as the party is concerned? Is nobody else working?
My reply is simply this: if the national president of the Congress party is not being properly used in Gujarat, where I am sitting for the last more than 10 days, it's not our problem. All the BJP leaders are campaigning in Gujarat or not. The Prime Minister, the Home Minister, the UP Chief Minister, so many other Chief Ministers, all the state leaders, and many of them are working as booth level coordinators, apart from the extraordinary missionary of the Congress BJP here in Gujarat. All of us are sitting here or not. Therefore, who has given this license? And even if you have any problem, what kind of words are you using? And that too by the All India President of the party. It is an abuse of a leader today who is globally one of the most popular leaders of the world. You have heard the pride of Indians who love Modi ji. You have heard the pride of Gujaratis who also adore Modi ji. That's the point. If you can't find a, and let me tell you, Mr. Khadge is not a new phenomenon in the politics of India. He claims that he has long years in Gujarat, in Karnataka, more than 50 years. MLA, MP, minister, he's central minister, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha, and now the All India President. Therefore, he knows the nuances of the polity of the country. Or for him to use it repeatedly is something very shocking.
So, before I talk to you
also
about,
made one
as
more
far
comment,
as this...
I'd like to come...
Sure. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
No, you please complete your query now.
Sure. So, essentially, I was trying to understand, before I talk to you about the pattern of this name calling, the other allegation that's coming in from the Congress is that right from the MCD elections to general elections, if the BJP continues to bank on the Modi factor and use the face of the Prime Minister, how is the voter on the ground going to have any accountability if they won't know anybody else?
Did Modi ji campaign for the MCD in Delhi? Campaign is going on or not? So many BJP leaders, central ministers are moving from gully to gully or not? What kind of logic is this? Yes, we are not a family party. We campaign, but Modi is our leader, the most popular leader. People trust him. What's your problem? If your leaders are not trusted by the people of India, don't cast these kinds of aspersion against the popularity of Narendra Modi ji. But a larger question, let me again put to you. You can debate, you can criticize, you can discuss, you can disagree. That is what the beauty of democracy is about. But you will make a foul play repeatedly. That's the point I'm trying to highlight. And the way that, and let me take the opportunity talking to you from Gujarat. Sardar Patel, the tallest leaders of India, did Mr. Khadge or Sonia ji or Rahul Gandhi even decided to offer their respect at the great statue of Sardar Patel at Kevadia? I'm asking you a question. What is this? The biggest leaders of modern India, and I'm putting this question to you here. You can ask to some Congress people if you so like. Sardar Patel died in 1950. who unified the country. And you must know, out of nearly 556 riyasats of the country, he was handling all 555. Nehruji only handled Jammu and Kashmir. There is no problem elsewhere from Junagadh to Hyderabad to Udaipur to Jaipur to Jodhpur. What happened in Kashmir, you all know, 2019, ultimately Article 370 was removed. Sardar Patel, a real Desh Ratna, died in 1950. He was given a Bharat Ratna in 1991.
Sure.
Who was the Prime Minister in 1991? Narasimha Rao. And if someone from the family would have been the Prime Minister, this job also would have been done by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, as he did in the case of Lok Nayak JP and others.
But sir, you know, this
That's
is
the point
where
I'm trying to
the
say.
criticism once again coming
point
in from
is-
the Congress
the point-
is
the-
that when the BJP indulges in name calling, it's fine. When the Congress does it, why does it become a controversy?
Well, name calling is different. Name calling presupposes abuse. Criticizing is fine. That's what democracy is about. Questioning is fine. Raising serious issues of lapses is fine. What is wrong with this? If they are having a hoarding in Gujarat, काम बोले छो, they are not in power for the last 27 years. तो क्या
Sure.
काम बोलता है आपका?
Sure.
This is criticism. This is criticism. Name calling is abuse. But let me revert to that question. Why Sardar Patel was ignored repeatedly by the Congress government? Because he was a critic of Nehruji. Why was Subhash Chandra Bose ignored? His statue was installed when
Sure.
Modi ji decided to give him respect in Rajghat. That's the point.
Okay.
Only the family has got the mandate to rule,
Sure.
the lineage to rule, and anyone else, who are you, how you came.
Sure.
That's the larger question you must understand.
So the question that is being
therefore
raised by
we
the
are
BJP
very
is that yes, we are led by example. We believe in the leadership of the Prime Minister, and there is no harm if we're still banking on the factor, because real work on the ground will speak. Sir, I really appreciate you taking out the time and joining us here. We leave the conversation there. I quickly now want to go back to our guests who are patiently waiting as well. Let me go back to Dr. Piyush Joshi, who continues to be with us. Dr. Piyush Joshi, between this back and forth of these barbs and jibes, the larger question is, does any of this actually have any resonance on the ground?
Well, the political parties will certainly try to put the element of resonance to it. They will try really hard. Congress is fighting a losing battle. It's searching for its relevance into the hearts and minds of the anti-Modi voters, and that's why it has garnered some headlines through this statement of Mr. Mallikarjunji Kharge. He's a very respected leader. He comes from Dalit community. He has also tried to play the Dalit card yesterday, saying that nobody wants to drink tea at his house. It's really sad if that's the state of the national president of the party. So what are they trying to do? They are trying to divert attention and they are trying to garner some headlines. Having said that, I don't think that the people of Gujarat are going to vote for this victim card. What they are going to vote for are the real core issues on the ground: the school education, the primary health care, the unemployment rate, the increasing inflation. So that's what the ordinary people of Gujarat is going to vote for. Conventionally, the fight has been two-sided only between the Congress and the BJP, and now there is a third player in the game. That is the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party has demonstrated its model of governance to some extent. I would not say that to an entirely, completely functioning extent, but the school model and the higher education model, as well as the primary healthcare center model through the mohalla clinics, is very much in play.
Okay.
So I think the third, this third player has forced the Congress party to make such statements and to just gain some ground is the core.
I agree with the point that Dr. Piyush Joshi is
this.
making, and Yuvraj, this is what I want to. This is where I want to bring you in. This is where the criticism against the Congress party is coming. That the reason that we are seeing comments like this today is because even the Congress party probably is realizing that there is an inroad that is being made by the Aam Aadmi Party, and they will win at the cost of the Congress.
So, Namaste. Ridhima, Congress cussing and dissing Narendra Modi is not something new. It has been for a while. And let me start with a word. There's a word for that in English, incorrigible. One that is bad beyond repairs. See, political parties accusing, smearing each other, taking pot shots is not something new. But the logic says if it helps you, you can do it. As they say, everything is fair in love or in elections. But I think it has been for a while. Sonia Gandhi, let me quote a few examples. Sonia Gandhi in 2007, मौत का सौदागर. Priyanka Vadra on May 2014, नीच राजनीति. Rahul Gandhi on October 2016, खून की दलाली. Rahul Gandhi September 28, चौकीदार चोर है. खड़गे जी now रावण with 100 heads. मधुसूदन मिस्त्री औकात दिखा देंगे.
True.
संजय निरुपम मोदी अनपढ़ गवार. मणिशंकर अय्यर in 2017, नीच आदमी. And last but not least, Mr. Salman Khurshid in 2014, Modi is Napunsak. So dissing each other, if it helps you, you can do it because everything is fair in politics. But the thing is, the list goes on and goes on. It is not helping Congress. If you consider the consequences, and I have listed a few, 2007 elections, Congress won 59 seats in Gujarat.
Yeah.
2014 elections, Congress was confined to 44 seats merely.
Yeah.
And that too from the grand old party.
Yeah.
2017 UP elections, 7 seats. 2019,
this is exactly the analysis I did when I started the show, and that is why I asked Mahima at that time that are these barbs and jibes actually working on the ground? Mahima, I want to bring you back in. More than are they actually having a resonance on the ground, the larger question is, haven't they already backfired in the past for the Congress party? As far as the Chaukidar Chore jibe was concerned, that reached the court, there was legal action taken and apology was demanded as well. So hasn't the Congress learnt its lesson is the question being asked?
Well, is it only for the Congress to learn its lessons, Ridhima, is what I want to ask you. And by asking you, I'm putting that question out to the audience also of your show. Are all the lessons only to be learnt by the Congress? And a while ago, I was hearing the spokesperson of the BJP say that the Congress is too happy losing. Let me say this to the BJP spokesperson. And, to all the hoodlums that attach with the party and who are rejoicing in the current political scenario of the country, which is threatening for the democracy, that we have been very happy keeping the democracy alive over the last 75 years. And so we are happy, accepting if we have a defeat on our platter. That's also fine because that's what the public is catering to us. But we'll not sit quietly, accepting all the dirty splashes made on our faces by the BJP and the likes of them. A while ago, you had asked me that, should you respond back in the same language? Well, maybe not so. We do not believe in tit for tat. We are not. We don't come from that ideology.
And that's why, Mahima, the question is, when you hear such comments from the president, nonetheless, is it then coming from the top command of the Gandhis? Is the question that one asks. That if this was any other leader, the Congress could have distanced themselves and said that we don't actually endorse it. But when your president goes forward and make these comments, who's a veteran, the larger question that is being asked is that is this the mindset that the Congress wants to reflect today? But I believe Tuhin wants to come in. Tuhin?
No, just allow me 4 seconds.
Unfortunately,
Mahima, I'll come back to you. Mahima, I'll come back to you. Tuhin.
Unfortunately, the present-day Congress is delusional. It is making torn claims of having restored democracy in the country, but the fact is the only 2 years when democracy did not exist and when emergency was imposed, it was done by a Congress Prime Minister. So does that party have any moral authority to wax eloquent on democracy? This is why I say the Congress is out of touch with reality. It is delusional. Now, coming to name calling, please understand there is a difference between name calling and abusing. What the Congress has been doing is out and out abusing. Yes, certain leaders of ours have called names.
Bharatiya did the same too.
Please allow me to complete. Certain leaders from our party have called names to Congress leaders, like called Pappu, which I may not condone. But at the end of it, the fact is that when a certain name of this nature has been called to a Congress leader, people of the country seem to have agreed with it. But when it comes to abuse of Modi ji, the people of the country have been livid because the acceptance level of Modi ji is overwhelming. But yes, if Rahul Gandhi continues with his antics during the Bharat Jodo Yatra, people will call certain names.
Okay, I'd like to give the final... Okay, Mahima, 30 seconds and then I want to give the final word to Dr. Joshi.
Yeah, Yeah, I in fact resonate with Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, who made quite a point, earlier on your show when he was talking about the culture, about the dignity that must be maintained while criticizing. And I hope he taught that lesson well in time to his own leaders and his own party workers, because that clearly is not the scenario here. Your screen is a proof. You had, in the prelude of your show, you had quite laid down a list of all the abuses that the BJP has heard on the Congress. And so we need to ask a question here, what you just asked me. That is the acceptance for hate speeches in BJP government from the very top, as Ravi Shankar Prasad ji said, or as you have also suggested. We are sitting in the opposition. We are only pointing out, to Modi ji's actions or the BJP's actions very logically, and in that context,
Okay.
if the context of
I just want to
100
give the
heads-
final word at this point to Dr. Joshi, saying, will this name calling result in change of wind or change of guard as far as Gujarat is concerned? Final word.
It's very clear that people are going to vote on the basis of the work done. If the people are not happy with the work done, they will not vote back BJP in. I think it's not the time for victim cards, it's the time for guarantee cards. So people need certain guarantees, and I think it's very important that you talk about the deliverable models of governance, and that's what the people are going to vote about.
So come the 8th of December, we of course will have the results. As I said when I started the show, you will have polling in 2 phases. On the 1st of December and then on the 5th of December. We really have to see which way the water votes. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I'd like to thank all our guests for joining us this evening. With that, it's a wrap from my side. Plain Speak with Shivani is up next.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. IFFI international jury head Nadav Lapid's remarks on the film The Kashmir Files have evoked massive reactions through the day. While speaking at the closing ceremony of the 53rd International Film Festival of India, the Israeli filmmaker called the film a propaganda and a vulgar movie. He lashed out at the film and said jury members were disturbed and shocked by the film and felt that it was inappropriate for an artistic comparative section of such a prestigious film festival. Now, it's not that the Kashmir Files won any award at the festival. It was only part of a showcase of Indian panorama. Why should its inclusion amongst 24 other films rattle Lapid so much that he went out of his way to mention it at what was the platform that belonged to the festival? Other jury members have called his statement his own, while those associated with the movie have called it part of a toolkit against India. Israel too has distanced itself from the comments and said that Lapid should be ashamed of his remarks. But why is one film rattling the world or a section within it so much? One film that shows the horror of what Kashmiri Pandits went through. One film that challenges what has been said so far. Isn't that exactly the business of film? Why can't it at least be accepted with sensitivity, even if you have to criticize it? Can a film on a genocide be termed vulgar? We will take those questions to our guest in just a bit, but first up, in response to Lapid's rather unpalatable attack on the film, this is what key figures associated with the movie and the country Israel have said. First up, let's take a look at what Vivek Agnihotri, the director of the Kashmir Files, has said. Earlier in the day, he tweeted, "Truth is the most dangerous thing. It can make people lie." Later in the day, he came out and released a more lengthy statement in which he has gone on to say, "Prove one shot in the movie wrong and I will quit filmmaking." Anupam Kher, the actor in the film, also came out all guns blazing. He said a vulgar remark by a person who himself is vulgar and opportunistic. He has a specific problem with the use of the words vulgar and propaganda. He also went on to say that there is a toolkit gang which is behind this entire controversy, the reason why such comments are being made. Noah Gillon is ambassador of Israel to India. He called out Lapid saying, insensitive and presumptuous to speak about historic events before studying them. Now, of course, Kashmir Files is not a documentary, but it is very, very deeply based on real events. And that's why the director is saying, you prove one shot wrong and I will quit filmmaking. He stood by those comments. I remember interviewing him before the film came out and he had said that. But, you know, here is, of course, the Rezi ambassador saying that this is historical events and you should educate yourself about them before you make such comments. He also actually went on to say that there's no need to reflect your frustration on other countries. We'll delve into that a bit in just a bit. While Kobi Shoshani, who's the Consul General of Israel in Mumbai, said the film is definitely not propaganda and he doesn't accept Lapid's statement. In fact, he went on to say that Nadav Lapid made a big mistake. Israel doesn't back those remarks. His own compatriots and others have questioned if Lapid is just a serial critic back home and projecting that here too, or misusing his platform for his own agenda. And here is why. In July 2021, at another film festival, he had attacked his own country, where he seems to be a critic of some political figures. He had said, "What bothers me is not the censorship of the state, but when censorship becomes part of your soul, your mind." Same time, in July 2021, he told a magazine in an interview, "I felt that the Israeli state had become unbearable for me." Earlier in 2019, Lapid had said something in the deepest essence of the Israeli existence is false, is rotten. Now, if you comment on your own country, it's a different matter. But did Lapid have any authority to call a film based on actual events propaganda in India? Did he let his political voice take over? The larger question we ask today, why is this one film rattling so many, whether in India or hailing from abroad, so much that they just keep attacking it months after its release? Before we go to our guests, a reminder, I spoke to Kashmir Files actor Anupam Kher on the IFFI jury head's remarks, and that entire conversation is coming up soon.
All of us disturbed and shocked by the 15th film, by the movie Kashmir Files, that felt to us like a propaganda vulgar movie, inappropriate for an artistic competitive section of such a prestigious film festival.
ये एक प्री प्लान मुझे लगता है, मैं जितना ज़्यादा जानता नहीं, ऐसा प्री प्लान लगता है कि प्लानिंग किया गया है, बिकॉज उसके बाद इमीडिएटली टूल किट गैंग जो है वो सक्रिय हो गया.
I think that one private person with his own opinion shouldn't change anything here, and that's what I was trying to tell, that the relations are much stronger than this individual, another individual. Each one is entitled to his own opinion.
जो बात है कश्मीर फाइल्स के बारे में, ये सच है. अगर कोई ने कहा होगा, मैं तो अभी इतना ही देखता हूँ कि जिस तरह से प्रोपेगेंडा हुआ था एक पार्टी का और एक पार्टी के खिलाफ, उसके लिए फिल्म बनाई थी, और एक पूरी पार्टी, पूरी सरकार, जहाँ जहाँ बीजेपी की सरकार है, वो उस प्रचार में लगा.
हाल ही में मेरा भाई मारा, क्या वो झूठा था क्या? और भी कोई सानिया हो गया, नाड़ी मारा क्या, या और कोई, ये क्या झूठ है? वो इस सच को दबाना चाहता था और कुछ नहीं. इसकी बातों से यही लग रहा है कि वो सच दबाना चाहता है.
I want to go across to the guests joining us. Sudipto Sen is one of the jury members of the IFFI International Panel. He has, of course, earlier called out the statement of Mr. Lapid as his own. Ashok Pandit is filmmaker and a Kashmiri Pandit himself. Sushant Sareen is Senior Fellow, ORF. I want to begin with Sudipto Sen. First of all, thanks a lot for joining us. Exactly what happened, Mr. Sen? Mr. Lapid seems to be reading a statement. You've come out and said that this is his personal opinion. This wasn't really the mind of the jury. So what really happened? Why did he read this statement out on the closing ceremony?
Okay. You have to understand how it goes. can I get some time to explain the whole process?
Sure.
See, it is not IFFI. It is the system and a practice to festivals, film festivals all over the world. Be it Cannes Film Festival, be it Berlin, be it Rotterdam, be it Karlovy Vary, be it Venice. That international jury board is given 20 to 25 films to judge. Now, here in IFFI 53, we had 22 films. 15 films were there as the international competition, and 7 films were there for the first debut director. And we were supposed to give 6 awards, the best film, the best director, the best actor, the best actress, special jury award, special mention, and the best debut director. So, 6 awards to be given. Now, from 20th of November to 26th of November, these 7 days, we watched these 22 films. Even at times we saw few of the films twice. Because you have to understand, ma'am, this festival this competition become so serious that you must have heard the name of Christoph Janussi, a Polish director, who is a living legend today. He is the great masters. We all grow up seeing his film. His film was part of this competition. So you can imagine the gravity of the festival, the seriousness of the festival. Now, we saw the films and unanimously we have chosen 6 awards from 5 films. 1 film got 2 awards and rest 4 awards were given to 4 films. So, as the ethics of any festival, we are supposed to talk about those 5 films which are been awarded.
Right.
We are not supposed to talk about the films which are not been awarded.
Exactly.
In that case, 17 films didn't get award. 17 films didn't get award which had